That was a little weird.
5, 4,
3, 2.
1.
Welcome to Niederman Describes. I'm Dan McCoy, and we are here at MNN Studios in New York City, New York. And I am joined here by Mike Niederman and Jack Karp.
Hey.
Hey. The three of us together, along with Flip, who is in the booth.
Say hi, Flip. Flip wants it.
Oh, feedback.
That was Flip.
We met, this is a little bit of origin story before we get started. We met back in 2007 with a group called Robo Riders.
Wait, it's been 10 years.
It's been 10 years.
You're old.
10 years.
You're
as
older.
old as this jacket.
Wow.
Which is why I wore it today. The four of us, along with Bronwyn Clark, formed sort of the core group of Crosstown Playwrights, which was a theater group here in New York City. And we've long since disbanded, but have remained friends.
We should come back together. Bring the gang back together.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
Put the band, we'll fly Bronwyn in with her husband.
And her kids.
And 2 children at
Two
this
children.
point.
No, she
The
actually
kids can be in charge of breaking up the hotel room.
Right, she actually turned into a real adult as opposed to the rest of us.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all just boys in our 40s.
Well, Flip's like half an adult.
He has half
Oh, that's
a child.
true. He has a child.
He has
A child.
That's true. But he's not the one on camera, so
No.
he
Flip
kinda
doesn't really
count.
exist. He only exists in our mind.
He
Yeah.
exists as like booming feedback coming over the monitor
He
system.
represents our conscience.
Anyway, we only have a short amount of time, so I am going to sort of dive us into what we're doing here. The reason, the why that we are here.
Why are we here?
We are here because I love listening to Mike describe things that are on television and in movies. Mike, Jack, I'm going to say this for your benefit.
Okay.
Since you're the one who has repeatedly said before we started filming that
What have you said?
you have
I have absolutely no idea what we're doing.
none whatsoever.
I know. I just have to talk about the shit I see.
Over the years, one of my greatest pleasures has been to listen to Mike describe the plot of things and to describe backstory and the passion and the fervor and the detail-orientedness with which he is able to recall and retain information about pop culture and about
And not just plot,
storytelling.
like moments.
But moments and story and theme and worlds, all of these things. Like Mike has an incredible capacity to make the backstory of Game of Thrones, for example, as entertaining, if not more so, than watching it on TV or reading it in the novels. So we had this idea a couple of years ago while we were all sitting around, the four of us having drinks at Der Schwulzer Kölner in Fort Greene. In Brooklyn. To do a show like this, we had envisioned it as a stage show where Mike would be at a computer, much like this one that's in front of me, and I would be feeding him video clips that he would then describe for the audience, and we would just sort of see how that went.
And that didn't happen.
No.
So we're going to do it now for the first time. This is the first time we're ever doing this at Public Access, MNN Studios, with Dan McCoy as sort of the facilitator.
Yeah, the MC, if you will.
The MC. Me as the sort of avant-garde, talent, if you will.
The talent.
The
Yeah,
talent.
you're the talent.
Yeah.
It's like in a porn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sort of
And
the...
Jack's the fluffer.
Yes.
Fluffer.
I have this sort of autistic savant capability.
Right.
And Jack has to just basically, Jack, you're Tom Cruise in the movie Rain Man. You're standing outside, you're standing in the phone booth with me as I'm going, uh-oh, fart. Except uh-oh, fart is not like an actual fart. Uh-oh, fart is the plot of whatever movie I get asked about. And it's 15 minutes to Wapner, Jack.
This is a metaphorical
15
phone booth, though,
it's
right? I'm not
15
actually getting put in a phone booth with you.
It's 15 minutes to Wapner, Jack. Are you ready?
I believe I'm ready.
Okay.
I still don't know what we're doing.
Great. Well, I do. So we're in luck. Tell us what you see.
So we're folding papers, and he's giving a perfect little, the older brother is giving a perfect little folded up paper boat to his younger brother, and the younger brother is putting it down the water going into the sewer, and yet he's going to have the nerve to be surprised that it's going to get lost in the sewer. Ow, that's got to hurt. He just got hit in the head by a Dairy Public Works things. What it's blocking, I don't know. There's no actual construction there. It goes into the sewer, but again, I'm going to say that he put it in the rivers going to the sewer. How can he be surprised? Granted, he's 6. And then coming up right now, is not Tim Curry. It is some other actor. I have no idea who's playing this
Alexander Skarsgård.
No, it is not Alexander Skarsgård. It is another Skarsgård. It is like baby Skarsgård. Alexander Skarsgård, you mean the one who's just beating up Nicole Kidman. Not him. So now there's another missing child in...
Morris Skarsgård.
And there's a fat kid and a red balloon. And... needless to say, this is It, the movie. Am I the only one that remembers It, the miniseries that was on TV back on ABC 20 years ago with Tim Curry and John Ritter and Harry Anderson? Whatever happened to Harry Anderson?
I don't know. After Night Court.
After Night Court, he did It, the movie. And so here they all these kids who are riding bikes without unsupervised, because that's what you did in the 1980s, is that you rode bikes unsupervised. Kids don't do that anymore. They're watching videos. No, it's not a video. It's a slideshow, shy projector. And there's going to be another scary-looking clown. Turn it off the yelling. And now, this September, they're
now
running.
We have a montage.
Their montage. It's a red balloon. What is it? The clown is like, it's Freddy Krueger. And there is a black kid in Maine. So you know this is a fantasy.
We're going to talk about this for a second.
Okay.
And the
that
reason,
was
the trailer for the
new It, which none of us have seen.
That's a new It?
There's a new
That's
It.
a new one.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is an old It,
I
which
read
I'm
the
going
book when
to-
I was a kid, and I read the book after I saw the HBO series.
Okay.
Yes.
Not an HBO series. It was like a network series. I'm just going to sort of
series.
I'm just going to sort of play this. This is the
Right.
Tim Curry
and
scene.
here's Tim Curry, and Tim Curry is charming.
He's good in it.
Tim Curry is funny. Tim Curry is awful in the way that you want this, but he's not
Right.
a pure monster.
Right.
He has an agenda. He's
He's a very human.
He's a monster with his needs, and he wants to eat small children and be awful, but he seduces his child in. He's not just a pure malevolent evil destructive force, which is what we kind of feel about this new clown. We don't get a sense of the personality of the new clown. He's just a pure monster, like the xenomorph in Alien. Like the thing about the xenomorph in Alien is that it doesn't want anything. It doesn't need anything. Like Ian Holmes said in the first movie, or Paul Reiser would say in the second movie, it's a pure killing machine. Like you feel right now, the way you're looking at me. But that's what this new It feels like. It feels like it's just a pure killing machine. It doesn't feel like there's I want things. How do I get this thing? Maybe convince this 6-year-old boy to come into the sewer with me. We all float down here. Don't you want a balloon? Woo-yee! This seems like a real, honest-to-God, scary clown because he's funny. Because he has big floppy shoes and a nose. And that's sort of what's creepy about clowns, is that you know that there's something underneath the floppy shoes and the baggy trousers and the balloons and the nose that is malevolent. The other clown is just a murder machine in a red wig.
Right.
How
And
do
the
you know he's
benefit
in a red wig? Did they show the clown in the new It?
Well, yes, we saw it. Weren't you watching along with me? There's a red wig. All clowns are red wigs.
the reason that I selected the It trailer
Yes.
was because of our discussion that we were having at dinner the other week when we were at the Thai place.
Yes.
Or what was that?
No, we didn't
the
do
ramen place. The
ramen place.
The ramen place. What was that place called again?
Junmen Ramen.
Plug in Chelsea.
In Chelsea, 25th
very,
Street
very
and 9th
good.
Avenue. It's delicious ramen.
And the fact was that so many of us at that table, including Rich and Mike, had It as a reference point for childhood, because we're all sort of about the same age.
Yeah.
We were all about the age of the kids in the Losers Club.
Right.
When that book was first released, which I
Right.
believe was 1986.
I remember and the TV show came out in the late
1990.
80s. Okay, 1990.
Only 4 years after the book was released.
And
which
it
at
was
that,
2 episodes.
It was, yes, it was. Which,
Right.
and I believe this movie is going to be in 2 parts as well. Part 1 is the Losers Club, and Part 2 will
Is
be
the adults?
as the adults.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert:
With
one of the
the-
adults commits suicide.
That's right.
Not going to tell you which one.
Right. Unless we do.
Yes.
Which is okay.
It's a 25-year-old book. People read it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I believe like what the director is attempting is to have each of the films be sort of standalone with, you know, the kids as kids, and then as adults,
adults as
each of the
adults.
times that they face it and supposedly try to
Which is not
to
the way the
defeat it.
book was written. The book, the whole lines weave through. So adults, kids, adults, kids, adults, kids.
And I think the idea is that they're eventually going to cut both films together in a way that more
Interesting.
that matches the structure of the book more.
Will there be a 12-year-old gangbang? We haven't answered this question yet.
My money would say probably not. That would probably be problematic, unless it's handled tastefully, which I don't know how that would be.
It could.
Hey, Jack, say
Yes.
Tijuana.
Tijuana.
Tijuana, take your mother to the gangbang. I guess you do.
Yeah. So something that this was recalling for me was just how formative this book was for me. I mean, I read this book when I was in the 7th grade. I was
wanna
very,
say
very
that
young.
For us, there were these books that we all sort of maybe read.
Yeah.
And I don't know if these books sort of, like Hunger Games, maybe, yeah, sure. Twilight, maybe,
Harry
yeah, sure.
Potter.
Harry Potter, yeah.
Which I'm in the middle of reading that series for the first time right now.
But you know what about
I'm in the middle of book 5.
You know what the thing
It's
about
great.
it was? It was transgressive a little bit.
Abs-
And I don't feel like these
A
books
lot of it.
A lot are allowed to be transgressive anymore.
Well, 12-year-old gangbang.
Also,
12-year-old gangbang.
well, also, like Hunger Games and Harry Potter, those are definitely like YA books.
They're for kids.
Right? It is not whatsoever.
Right.
And so reading that book, even though it's about kids, it was definitely written for adults. And so that's why it felt transgressive, is reading a big epic adult horror novel felt rebellious. It was an educator who introduced me to Stephen King. My 7th grade English teacher, Mrs. Palumbo, started reading The Eyes of the Dragon to us.
I
in
haven't
class.
read that one.
It is a wonderful book.
I haven't read any of the Gunslinger ones.
Okay, back to it. I
Yes.
just want to talk about it a little bit more. And this is like sort of like the main, you know how in John Oliver you have like the little intro section and then you have like the main section. We're in the main section right now.
So today is about, so our pilot episode is about it.
It's about it, and by extension, it's about nostalgia. And it's about...
I have a T-shirt under here which is nostalgic.
It's about
It's just
how
really
we're
old.
sort of living in like sort of like you know, I think of it as like the Stranger Things moment, where we are sort of collectively, I think, at least, you know, amongst
Yeah.
our demographic, yearning for this, you know, very 80s style of storytelling. I think, you know, Stranger Things is the biggest, you know, indicator of that.
Star Wars Part 7.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
I
like the
think
way that franchise has just
Yeah.
exploded again.
Watching the preview to it, the new It,
Yeah.
I thought of Stranger Things. It looks
Right.
like Stranger Things.
Well, I've heard it said like, wow, that are reading comments and stuff. It's like, wow, it looks like just like Stranger Things, and like Stranger Things was directly influenced by
and
by
E.T..
you know, various Stephen King, like Firestarter is actually
Right.
a very
big part.
influence
But
on
like
the character of
heck,
Eleven.
if you even see the trailer for the new Thor movie, Ragnarok, just the titles are of a 1980s kind of font.
Yes.
Very much 1980s sci-fi Lloyd Alexander, except everyone has lasers kind of thing.
Ooh, Lloyd Alexander.
Lloyd
Did
Alexander.
you read the Chronicles of Prydain?
I read
however you pronounce that?
the
Like the Book of Three.
I read the Black Cauldron.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I was really into those.
But like, I think because the 1980s was the last time that there was really any, on one level, great freedom to explore, especially at the young age. The 90s maybe, although I don't have a sense of like 90s kids, but also there was great danger in the 90s because there was AIDS and crack and the Russians in the 90s.
80s.
That too. And I feel like right now we're just feeling such anxiety and fear and danger, but we have none of the freedom. Absolutely zero amount of the freedom just to run around and be ourselves. And so we need that. We want that in our stories. But what are we getting through our stories? We're getting Fast, Furious 8, which is just dreadful.
Yeah, but number 7 was really good.
Because Paul Walker died, and so we just really wanted that to be good. They had to give him a good send-off. 8, like it should have been 8 is the Titans fighting each other. It's The Rock and Vin Diesel fighting each other. But what happens during the shooting of Fast and Furious 8? Two swinging dicks couldn't get along with each other. So literally their fight scenes were with body doubles because they couldn't actually fight each other. So this Clash of the Titans is kind of like a wet popcorn fart. This is what our popular culture has become. It's not fun anymore. It's not free anymore.
Hi. Nicely summarized, and I agree with many of the things that you're saying there, if not all of them. I did space out there for a second, and I'm sorry. That's just something that I do. Ow! But also,
Nostalgia.
I think something that I was noticing as a common denominator, and I think Stranger Things certainly kind of brings this into focus somewhat, is that stories like It, I want to say Stand By Me, E.T., Goonies, absolutely. All of these are groups of boys. We're talking with one girl.
Yeah.
Goonies got two girls, but one of them is
and
feminine, and so she's half of
the Martha Plimpton character, right? And then in Stranger Things, you've got 11. Who's the and then you've in E.T. you've got Drew Barrymore. You've got the kid's sister.
Right. Well, 11 in Stranger Things is 11 is also the older sister. So granted, she's not in the gang of kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the thing about Stranger Things is actually 3 movies. It was the kids riding on bicycles with walkie-talkies going, breaker, breaker, are you in? And then there's the kids who are having sex, and like their monster is much scarier than the 11. She's an adolescent girl, and she's got to come into her power and find her voice. There's a reason why on one level she needs to be pretty and put on a wig, but 2, she doesn't really talk, and 3, half the time she's fighting monsters which are father figures in a diaphanous white nightgown. The older kids, their monster is like the monster that happens when you drink and do drugs and have sex. It's the monster of the underneath. The underneath, is that what it's called?
The upside down.
The upside down. Right, because that's the thing that happens. Like, you have sex and you die, or in this case, in case with Barb, is that she doesn't have sex. She's the fucking wet blanket the entire party, and then she dies. And then there's the government conspiracy theory movie, which the adults are in, which is also in Firestarter. Firestarter is the government conspiracy movie. Stand By Me is the kids.
And E.T. to a certain extent.
E.T. to a certain extent.
You've got the Peter Coyote character, which
you've
sort
got
of
Keys.
Is,
that's his name, Keys.
Oh, is that his name in...
Yeah, but it's all. But you realize the government conspiracy movie in E.T. is all from the perspective of the kids. That's why we only see the belt high, because when you're a kid, what do you just see? Crotches. Yes,
that's right.
That's absolutely
right.
That's
all you see.
That's all you see, but we don't see the parents
That's still all I see.
trying to.
I knew that was coming.
Right. See, crotch. It's the area of the body where the legs meet the torso. You'll find one day.
I might find yours with my shoe.
Jack still doesn't know what he's doing here.
I really don't know.
Okay.
But are you enjoying yourself?
I am. I'm quite enjoying myself.
Good. Well, that's what matters.
Okay. Do I tell them what I'm watching, or just describe it? Like, this is YouTube. The title of the thing is there. So one old man is defibrillating another man, and there is Kurt Russell with a flamethrower at the ready. They're in Antarctica, and the body opens, and a mouth comes and chops it. This is one of the great scare moments, and it's the torso is chomping as his arms, and then the torso is turning into like little angel hair pastel tendrils are popping up. Everyone's running out of the room. It's a big Stan Winston monster. It's half a spider. It's got a long neck. It's growling at everybody. It's got weird teeth. And then finally it's burned to death. But the head pops off. Kurt Russell, not playing Elvis or John Wayne for once, the head of the monster pops up, falls onto the floor.
Almost.
Oh, God.
There
it goes. It's falling on the floor.
Woo!
I miss practical effects in movies.
Don't you, though?
All movies now are just like computer-generated shit. And now a second tongue is coming out of their mouth. It's already got one tongue. Why are you pointing the flamethrower at the men? They're alive. Point at the thing. What are you looking at it for? It's not moving that fast. It's like zombie speed.
You can get it so
You can
easy.
get it. Okay. Get in there. What are they doing? What are all the men doing? Why are you putting the fire out? I guess they're not supposed to see it. I guess it's sneaking. Sneak. They don't.
That's why we see it from such a low angle.
Right,
it's not,
because
yeah.
it is a low angle. We're watching the original Thing. Oh, and now
Spider
it crawls
time.
legs and eyes. And eyes, because this creature knows what a spider is and wants to emulate it, and I need eyes as well. Clearly, this is Carpenter just going, fuck it. Let's get a spider. And then here's my favorite line in the entire movie. As the spider face comes out from under a desk, and one character says... Oh, it's sneaking out the back! It's sneaking out the back! Nobody sees it! I love it! It's so funny! Wait, they turn... You gotta be fucking kidding me.
We got it.
And I gotta say that this, combined with Kurt Russell's next Carpenter movie, which was...
Escape from New York?
I was gonna say Big Trouble,
Big Trouble in
Little
Little
China.
Big Trouble in Little China is one of my favorites.
Which was Kurt Russell doing John Wayne.
Right.
Which was Kurt Russell also being the sidekick to his
Didn't
own
know he
film
was
and
a
not
sidekick.
knowing he's the sidekick. But still, there's this weird sort of fantasy body horror going on in Big Trouble in Little China and in The Thing. In The Thing, it's sort of played for laughs, but it's actually just played for horror. But in both cases, there's a moment of like, are you fucking kidding me? Now this is happening? Realizing that at the end of the day, we're still, I'm looking for my water, human beings, and there are monsters out there. And I think that's also the thing that's going on right now, is that we know there are monsters out there. There's ISIS, there's climate change, there's Donald Trump. These are actual monsters. These are real things to be scared of, that we know what they look like. We can point to them. What do the Russians look like? Exactly, you don't know. Like
Nobody knows.
nobody knows.
Nobody's ever seen a Russian.
It could
They could be...
They could
You
be in your...
could be a Russian.
You could be a Russian.
They could be in your neighborhood.
That's my point.
They
Yes.
could be in your neighborhood right now. They could look at Kerry Russell and... How do you pronounce that guy's name? From
what
the
guy?
Americans?
Oh, I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh, it's a good show. You should like it, yeah.
Tell us the plot so far in a minute or less. I'm timing you.
So Kerry Russell and the guy whose name I know, I can picture it in my head, but I just can't pronounce it. It's like this weird Scottish name, Rees, who also a few weeks ago put his dick onto Lena Dunham in one of the episodes of Girls. So they are.
Did you see it?
Yes, I saw the prosthetic dick.
So
So
they
they
use a real dick?
It's prosthetic dick. I've left in a minute. So they are a suburban family in suburban D.C., like Virginia,
Yeah.
Maryland. And they run a travel agency, and they've got two teenage kids who are like, Mom, can I go to the movies? No, do your homework. Ah, shucks. And they are Russian spies. And in the first episode, it's like 1980. So now it's like 1984. And they're like, they're spying on the FBI. Oh, their next door neighbor is an FBI agent. They're spying on the FBI and the CIA, and they're killing people, and they're honeypotting left and right. There was one episode where the guy whose name I can't pronounce had to sleep with like this old lady in Russia to see if he can get it up no matter what. So they're fucking left and right, and so everyone is lying to everyone all of the time.
Yeah.
And so they're parents, and they run their own business, and they're Russian spies. I'm like, where do they get the time?
Could the show have been produced in the 80s when it's set?
Yeah, not
Like, what
well, but it could have been produced in the 80s.
What would it have looked like had they
It would have
done
had like a
that?
real sort of like Misfits of Science sort of feel,
Okay.
or
would have been played more for laughs for the.
Well, I don't think so, because the Russians were the evil empire back in the day, but these characters would be like evil back in the day. They would like, we can accept gray characters today. Ever since Tony Soprano, we want our main characters to be evil but likable. And the thing is about these characters is that they're good Russians. They believe in what they are doing. They believe that America is this evil empire that's just bringing just nothing but sex and rock and roll and capitalism, which is going against all of their pure Marxist beliefs. And they're willing to take a body and break its legs and put it into a suitcase to drag it out of a hotel in one episode. They believe, so they're good from their perspective. I don't know in the 80s you could really have characters who are doing the right thing from their own perspective. It wasn't until Wise Guy with Kevin Spacey where you really got into the
I barely
villain.
remember that
Yeah,
show.
no one really watched that show.
Yeah.
But like,
I
remember
don't,
it was
I
on-
don't know if I agree with that. What about The Godfather?
I'm saying on television.
Oh, on television.
On
Okay.
television. It wasn't until then
Yeah.
that we really...
There were lots of anti-heroes in film,
Yeah.
but like anti-heroes is the main character of a multi-season TV show.
Right.
Wasn't as much of
like
a
we
thing.
can say, like, yes, Tony Soprano was one of the first real anti-heroes. And then now there are just way too many anti-heroes.
You've got Mad Men, you've got Breaking Bad,
You've got *Halt and Catch Fire*. You've got that
The Young Pope.
the young Pope, the
House of
Pope,
Cards.
Which
the
I
Pope is an
started
anti-hero.
watching that show. I watched the first episode of The Young Pope, and I was just like, I honestly I appreciated the craft. Flip is giving us the wrap it up sign. But I didn't continue watching. I was like, I just can't watch.
I like the old Pope better.
whole season
the old
of,
Pope
like-
is a much better show.
It's not a joke, Jack.
You're not that
I
funny.
couldn't watch one
Well,
more
what-
show of some like
Asshole.
asshole white dude treating everyone like shit. So I watched Westworld instead and enjoyed it much, much more.
I have to say that watching it just after Trump got elected, I'm like, oh God, this is what we're dealing with right now. Like all the young Pope is trying to do is dismantle the apparatus of the Vatican. That's all he's trying to do. And that's all that Trump is trying to do right now. He just fired the Surgeon General and wouldn't say
The
why.
Pope fired the Surgeon General.
No, Trump just fired the Surgeon General. He wouldn't say
I
why.
didn't know that.
The White House did not comment on it, and there's no reason. He's just like trying to just actively just rise up in the streets, people. What are we watching?
I think we're done. Flip just gave us the wrap up. However, we're going to give one more.
One more.
So put this on, and this is going to take us out. This has been the first episode of Niederman Describes.
Hopefully not the last.
Hopefully not the last, and our theme has been
Nostalgia. Which we didn't really stick to.
the 80s. That's okay.
Nor did
but
we even
but what
know
we
that's what the theme was.
what
at
we
the
sort of
beginning.
confirmed
I'm
is that
seeing-
monsters are back.
I'm seeing
It's the 80s
wonderful
all over again.
oceans again. And there was a giant, lovely manta ray. And did you know that the Great Barrier Reef is now terminal? And scientists say it's going to be gone soon. There's a stingray that's just like flopping around in the bottom. Oh, there's anemones. And there are clownfish. And you do know that Nemo would be dead by now. But they live in the anemones.
Flip fade out on this part.
And there's a grouper. I guess it's a grouper. It just hanging out there. Is something going to pop up and eat it? It maybe, or just, oh no, there's a tiny little crawfish, and they're digging. They're making a home for each other. They're living together. They're working together. And I don't know what this grouper is doing, but he's living his life. Good for you, grouper. The seas will be too warm for you to live in about 50 years.